That doesn't sound very likely. One unified nervous system. Because of a strange touch. Okay. Yeah, maiden, matriarch, matron. Okay, so 350 years is the length of the two first stages, and 300 plus the last one. Or minus culture. Yeah, of course. They would be more comfortable with that. They sound like the elves from Dragon Age before they got infected by humans. Yeah, investments or decisions may not pay off for decades or centuries. That sounds very much like that. That they spent decades debating stuff before the humans came and killed them all. Cultural domination, intellectual superiority. Yeah, I do not like to use force or confrontation. Well, that's very interesting. That sounds very libertarian if you ask me. Having a lot of city-states instead of nations vaguely linked by economics and culture. Very interesting. That's very strange. A matriarchy. Not really what you would expect. Yeah, in our society, all the very old people do not get a lot of say in the decision making itself, although they have a lot of power because they vote. They always vote. Alright. 20 to 30 years. Humans have 1 year of military training. Usually, unless they enter to a military, and even then, in 20 or 30 years are not studying. Yeah, having a long lifespan is a very, very big advantage. That's why many people want to be vampires or dream about being vampires, even that it would mean sacrificing your soul, if you will, as well as daytime, and who needs daytime? Yeah, this is all very familiar. Maybe they rehashed a lot of Codex entries from the previous game. Expanded on them in little ways, but this sounds all very familiar to me. That I didn't know. Ah, I see Solarians. Yes. One. This is what I don't understand. Why you want? I don't remember his name now. Martin say that they don't have the advantage of numbers. They are amphibian and lay eggs. Amphibians put a lot of eggs. They could reproduce massively if there were a lot of them. I don't really understand why. Why is there that distinction? The Krogan and the Solarians seem very much alike to me in that regard, and the Krogan are very much feared because of their the possibility of a population explosion, but the Solarians do not. Maybe they destroy eggs, but that would be policy, not biology. So, yeah, this is very familiar. Very familiar. Yeah. I think they did rehash them. Amazingly enough. Why do it? Yeah, this is almost exactly what I read last time. Very strange. Yeah, all this is exactly the same. Maybe the secondary codex they did not expand only the primary codex. Yeah, they disappeared and started dying, but almost the same. Yeah, exactly the same. Holy shit. Never thought they would be so lazy. They have to write a lot of things for the game. Anyway, so why not devote an afternoon to revamp a little bit the codex for the crazy people like me. Yeah, they are fans of the preemptive attack. I remember that. Okay, this is new. This little part is new about how the Solarians and the Turians regard each other. That's new. Okay. How could they operate covertly? If I lived in the terminal systems, I would distrust any Solarian then. Sabotage as designation. Yeah, all carried by Solarians, obviously there's STG Solarians, all of them. Even Mordin was easily identified by the people of Omega as a commando so it shouldn't be difficult to isolate Sandarians and prosecute them. Yes. That's why they have exoskeletons, because there is no metal in the core. Yeah. Aminodextery. Yeah, I remember that. They cannot eat food. Also true, they have a civil code. They don't give a shit about what people do as long as they don't disrupt public life. Yeah, they took the Volucine. Yes, the main institution of the whole thing is the military. Pretty much sounds like the humans in the Starship Troopers by the book. Yeah, pretty much. Hierarchical meritocracy, yes. You can go up and down and you get punished if you promote someone that is not capable. Yes, exactly that. This is new. Just like in medieval times, you had a role to play, you play it, and you do not feel diminished because you are in a lowly place of society. You know your place and you do what you must. That's how corporativism works, doesn't it? Everyone is proud. This is new. But yeah, they don't give... This is not new. Nothing is forbidden as long as it does not impede, and judicial is not judgment but rather understanding and trying to bring people into the fold. Yes. Yeah, you will only see Arturians back once he's dead, just like the Spartans. Well, this is new. The Cabal, the biotic arm of the military. That's new. What do you know? They have a very rigid society. It's true that reflects how society works. They give very broad autonomy to underlings, as long as they work out, they don't really give a shit. This is exactly the same as Romans. Auxiliary units, the Romans use that a lot to make up for the lack of training, especially on cavalry or light arms. So they can focus. You have not unlimited resources in the mana pool. Yes, this is also true. They have ethics, not morals, the Turians. Ethics are personal or communal, you could say. Morals are universal. So there's a big difference between the two of them. Uh, really, that's very interesting. Well, yeah, that's very... No, not really similar to the Romans. The Romans did believe that gods could influence things, but not the spirit of ancestors. I don't believe they did. The spirit of ancestors, no. So maybe it's also based on Roman society. Of course they would. I talked about this last time. I remember these passions exactly. Talk about how Confucianism and Zen could work out very well as a kind of secular religion for an empire. Or that's how they initially were approached. Yeah, I remember this. The colonies fought each other, and then the home world conquered everyone, and now everyone paints their face. Yes, I remember all this. Yeah. Alright. One down, a lot to go. What a fucking mess. But I needed to do it sometime better now than later, when it's even bigger. Paleotechnology. Well, it is old technology, but it's not old technology. It is much more advanced than what people have right now, which makes you think, doesn't it? The Reapers waited a long time, certainly much more. No, or maybe the Proteans were just a much more intelligent race and advanced faster in the 50,000 years than what the current races have advanced. Maybe that's what happened. Yes, that would make sense. Rather than, or the other possibility is that for some reason the Reapers are trying to prevent organic civilization to reach the same level of technical prowess, you could say, which would fit on my hypothesis, wouldn't it? Yes, I would think it does. The very first organic civilization that created the Reapers would have been very advanced, possibly having millions, if not hundreds of thousands of years of technological society, instead of 50,000 as it appears to be the case, because the Reapers come back. That civilization would have been very advanced, and the Reapers would have had a very difficult time wiping them out in the Civil War or something similar. So they decide they need civilization to advance so they can reap, of course, or absorb all the technology but they cannot allow the civilization to reach high enough level so they can challenge them again as the first civilization did, which would mean that they are fine-tuning every time they reduce the threshold, fine-tuning how much advance does a civilization need for it to be profitable or whatever, for them to rip it all up and consume it, which would mean every successive cycle leaves a far less technologically advanced civilization than the previous one, which would also explain why every empire, galactic empire, believes that someone else much more advanced than themselves built the citadel. It's because they find ruins and technology that are more advanced than what they have at the moment. Just like humans did with the proteins, and the proteins with whatever was before them. Because the Reapers constantly move the threshold a little bit towards the dawn of civilization, galactic civilization, therefore isolating every possibility that they could be challenged successfully by a technologically advanced organic race. I would love to be a Reaper. Plotting galactic domination and extermination, living forever, watching history unfold. It would be very nice. But instead of that, I'll die in 60 years. If things hold, if they go to shit, well, maybe we will all die much sooner. And if technology keeps progressing, then we will all die much later at the hands of our mechanical overlords. Okay. So much for hypothesizing. The keepers, yeah, they keep a constant number. Holy shit. Yeah. The Krogan are lizards and the other are amphibians. So, the Krogan are iguanas and the Solarians are frogs, you could say. Both of them lay a lot of eggs, at least in Earth. I don't see how that makes any sense. And if once you read through the Solarian accounts, you see that the second circle of family is 100, and the third is 1,000, and the fourth is 1,000,000, and things like that. How is that they don't have the numbers? How is it? I don't understand. I think that's a hole on all this shit. This is obviously very different. That I would understand, that the Krogan are much more resilient because of where they evolved. But the numbers thing, that I don't think that makes much sense, unless, as I said, abortion or whatever is part of the Solarian way of life somehow. It's not like insects do not have a lot of numbers advantages. They die very quickly, don't they? They die. Have a very short lifespan, but they could invade because they can reproduce very quickly. Yeah, Berserker, of course. The Blood Rage. Is this the power of Grunt? He certainly seemed very rageful, but it didn't show, did it? They can held or hold their anger while still channeling it somehow. Yeah, look at that human and Krogan. Yeah, they share the seeing red, as people sometimes call it. Seeing red and not thinking about what's going on. Okay. For millennia, I don't have that concept of millennia. I need to... What does millennia mean? Millions of years? Thousands? Or thousands of millions? What does that mean? Okay. Not surprised nor offended by treachery. That's very funny. Yeah, they should be very paranoid. They were prey, as far as I remember. Yeah, they're selfish, why not? Everyone is going to die. Yeah, exactly. Solitary attitude, part of the deep sense of fatalism and futility. Yeah, why not? What Rex thinks otherwise? The Genophage. Look at this once again. Turians fought the Krogan to end status, but the sheer weight of Krogan numbers indicated the war could not be won. Why? Why not throw millions of Solarians into the fight? Why? I don't understand that. It seems to me like just a justification to make the Genophage some sort of awful ethics dilemma. Although there could be a reason. The reason could be that the Krogan have a sexuality like humans, meaning that they can have babies at any moment in time, and they are very horny and have sex all the time. That could be a very big difference. because the Solarians, it's stated quite clearly, they do not have sexuality in their lives, you could say. They just lay eggs, fertilize eggs, and things like that. They have seasons like many animals do. The other time they do not care about reproduction, just survival. Maybe the Krogan are different. That would mean why the Solarians couldn't mass produce or mass breed an army. That could be it, but it's not stated anywhere. So you're throwing us at the straws, trying to find solutions for problems that do not exist. As a matter of fact, this is fake. But you have to entertain yourself with something, don't you? Yeah, I remember reading this the previous game. Okay. Yeah, you amass people and you shove them up their asses just like the Russians did. I remember this. Yes, the Battle Master, which I have never experienced. It's all bullshit. Never. One would think a Battle Master excels at hand-to-hand combat. But no. Yeah, the Krogan serving with Saren's forces appear to be... What the fuck? That happened 2 years ago. That's what I'm talking about. They could even come back and change appeared to be, because that happened 2 years ago. They didn't change that, did they? That annoys me because I'm reading all this shit and it has already been put in the previous game. So why even bother? But that's content, isn't it? Yeah, of course, they're like Cuba in the space. Everything is regulated unless you want the society to collapse due to lack of trade and few resources. Yeah, they are like locusts, you could say. Look at this, they are migrant workers. Corporations lobby against the Quarians but make backroom deals, ranging for skilled quarries to fill space engineering jobs for lower wages. Widely hated among the working classes. That's very funny. That's how they, I guess, extort systems. They they threaten economies just by appearing on the horizon. position comes from the Outriders coalition. Well, very interesting. That's new. So it's a divide between the big ships and the small ships. Very interesting. Yeah, this is also strange. This whole notion of resigning, but maybe. Okay, that's the reason. If the Admiralty does not step, the rest of the military is obliged to arrest them. But there is still a problem. What if the admirals aren't there? What if the military is loyal to them and not to the conclave? And the fact that the conclave was taking the wrong course of action would make the military even more prone to rebel. And what happens if the conclave insists in taking that position and the Admiralty has to continually overrule the council? That's all very pristine, I would say. What they show here, it would be much more awful in real life. All it's bound by honor, but maybe it's because they are all in peril of getting killed and exterminated as a race. Maybe that will explain why they are so so prone to follow the rule of law. Okay, there you go. Yeah, they have a very authoritarian way of life, but apparently they don't have any choice in the matter. If they want to survive as a community and not as a race, they of course could survive as a race, settling any planet or doing what many humans did. Just packing your bags and going to a rough place in the earth where people won't bother you. You can survive as a community that way, but you will also be a minority everywhere you go. It's much more difficult when you're talking about races rather than other things. You're trying to protect the whole legacy of the planet, so that's much more complicated. Yes, they go out of their way to make everyone part of the big Quarian family. To make the young beholden to not just their family or their ship, but the whole migrant fleet. That worship of the elders, that's what I have been talking about. But they secularized. Just like that. maybe that's what pushed them to create even more and more complex virtual intelligence or artificial intelligence, trying to recreate their ancestors somehow. Yeah, that's what this is saying. The search for immortality, which also doomed. What's the name? Well, the island kingdom of men in Lord of the Rings. I don't remember the name. Holy shit. Well, this one is quick. That is very, very long. Phew, that's annoying. Dragon's teeth. And I don't know that mythology. I haven't heard of the dragon's teeth ever. Treasure malls. At least they could have put a little picture here or something. You know, that could have been good. Yeah, accuse. I survived that, didn't you know already? Yes, I remember this from the other game as well. Rapid breeding cycle. Yes, I remember. How much do I have left? Holy fucking... That's a lot of shit. Amazing how much Codex entries there are. Well, I will have to name this video Codex. The Codex is repetitive, I will say. Alright. Very interesting, of course, why invest in a planet that is going to be destroyed. Yeah, really. They separated from the Alliance. Very nice. Time to look for your own place in the galaxy. Alright. Fucking shit. Yes, I remember this. That's very annoying. They could have put in a little logo or something, so you could avoid reading all this again. Yes, I remember this exactly. And look at this. Even this is outdated. The Council is an executive committee composed of representatives from the Asari Republic, the Turian hierarchy, the Solarian Union. That's a lie at this moment. Complete lies. Yeah, that's very, very annoying. they didn't even bother to fix that. And it's not that difficult. They could have said it was composed, but now it's dominated by a single species, humanity, and then all the other shit. But no, they just copy-pasted. That's incredible. Look at this. I don't know if this is true or not, but Benari Palin most likely died when Saren attacked the citadel. Most likely, but it's not confirmed in any place. So yes, I remember reading this. I was ranting out the sky and I read this, which explained why there was a sky. Yeah, the serpent makes it impossible to come from any other place other than the relay. Yes, blah blah blah. I remember this shit. Really crazy. Yeah, if they don't think people that read this in the first game were going to read it in the second game, then why even bother doing all this? It's amazing. Yes, I remember. Imposed day-night cycle, but it's much more day than night in a normal planet, or not in a normal planet. Yes, obviously 531, that doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure this has been revoked because the news that they recorded are against this, saying that the Turians are complaining that the humans have too much military power. Holy shit. Good to know the Earth is the gap between the rich and poor widens daily. Well, as long as everyone is richer, who gives a shit? That's my position. That would be something to investigate or know if everyone is richer. Yes, the first and only place to be occupied. And who surrendered it? The grandfather of Ashley surrendered that, or something like that. Okay. Yes, this is where they trained Caden. Yes. Alright. Holy fuck. It's so much. It's amazing. Alright, this is interesting. He'll define Nietzsche between property and sapient being. Yes, that's what I was talking about earlier. Genetic engineering. Oh. Very interesting that they thought all this was necessary. Yeah, that's something odd. Improvement of natural abilities is legal, but adding new abilities is not? What does that mean? There it is. Adding a tail or the ability to digest cellulose is not. Why not? Well, maybe people don't like tampering with humans. Yes, that's the explanation why we're running around probing things. That's the reason we receive money, but why would we receive the metals in themselves? Doesn't make any sense. And that's also from the previous game. You no longer go searching light and heavy metals and gases. It's all lies, all lies. This is also from the previous game. Holy fuck. Yes. Arcturus obviously is the place to guard. Holy fuck. Yeah, I remember the freaking new guy. Also this, I also remember this. I was talking about the father of Ashley when I read that last time. No. That's very crazy. Yeah, I'm reading the Codex poison. I had a lot of Codex's entries. And I have to say that most of it is rehashed from the previous game. That's really annoying. Because I also read the codex from the previous game. So I'm actually reading what I already know. Word for word. Bullshit. Yeah, I know. I have said several times on the cast. Only crazy people would be reading this bullshit. Which makes me one of them. Doesn't it? Okay, let's continue moving. Yes. Somehow I remember these. I'm pretty sure. Yes, I remember talking about this. Holy fuck. Could it be that when you start the game they throw all these bullshit from the previous game at you from the very beginning? That could be the case, and even then, how do you know that they did not change something? That's something really annoying. And they just pile on shit. At least the primary codex someone reads. This is all jargon and nonsense. Okay. Yeah, you start shooting. Shooting like a crazy person in a space. When people retreat, I remember reading that. You just retreat, there is no way of winning really, other than somehow making the enemy stay where it is, trapped somehow. This I think is new. The Citadel conventions prohibit the large use of kinetic capacitors. Yeah, right. When there is going to be a war, no one is going to pay attention to the Citadel conventions. Are you kidding me? Well, I don't know. I don't think so right now. To be truthful, Munch. I usually stream from midnight to 5 a.m. So I'm clearly past a lot of time, and it's because I'm trying to get rid of all these codex entries. So no, I don't really think I'm going to be playing more. I will keep reading until I finish all this shit. That I will do. But really, I didn't. I thought I wouldn't be getting a now audience at this time of the day. I'm very sorry. Yeah, much. I'm very sorry. You turned here when I was doing all this bullshit. It needs to be done. Yeah, all these military things, made up military things. Why bother, especially taking into account that there is not space combat. And I don't think they're going to implement the space combat anytime soon. Why waste brain power writing all this shit? When they could have spent it concocting a side quest or something. It's really crazy. Okay, let's continue. Okay. If everything was so simple as this one, it would be very nice. Yes, I remember this. Crazy shit. The space, get in a space, and you shut it out. Yeah. Yes, heat sinks. Yes, and they bent it, I remember that. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Maybe someday we will be done with this. That's really crazy shit. Okay, you cannot even talk about these entries, because they have absolutely no relation with anything that happens in the game. They're just words typed to give the sense that there is something behind the starships which you obviously never use, fight, or control besides running around from one place to the other. Why bother? I don't know. But somewhere, somehow, someone in BioWare thought this was a good idea. Well, we are finally getting through, huh? That's great. At least I can cut the video and let the other play out. At least they speak. They read aloud what's going on at the very least. Well, this is new. I wouldn't call this spherical. What did I say? The spherical geometry superior to jack shit. Biotic camps? There are no biotic camps in this game. No biotic camps. That's all lies. Really? That I had read. Being a biotic makes your metabolism much faster. What do you know? They think biotics are wizards, the normal people. Philosophical, religiously opposed to gene modifications and cybernetics, well, that explains the other entry about not adding tails to human beings. Physical mnemonics. Oh, really? Specific gestures and motion movements to fire the proper sequence of nerves and activate powers. That sounds very much like The Witcher to me. Nietzsche and Superman. Yeah, I think I will end up reading something very similar. I remember how they stored data. There was a codex out that last time. Nothing really interesting all this. Yes, I remember this. Bandwidth limitations and buying and selling bandwidth. Yeah, the colony star system, and it goes up and up and up and up and up. And as the colony grows, more shit is stored locally. And so on and so on. Okay. We are finally seeing the light of day, I would say. Yeah, we have Kazumi, Said, those should be very short. And if you wonder why do I record this, it's because the Codex does give valuable information from time to time that could make for interesting conversation, but all this shit is just annoying. All of this that doesn't have to do anything with anything. Just some writer frustrated with not being able to do science fiction for a living started making shit up about inexistent starships that you never use, and technologies and hand movements that you also never see. Giving explanation to things that do not need explanation because they are never at the forefront. And I remember this. Everything has an automatic exchange rate. Yeah, that's good for the people that watch this recorded instead of live. They don't have to go through this if they don't want to. I will be very interested in seeing how much it took me to read the secondary codexes. I will. The Battle of the Citadel, huh? Well, finally something. Well, that's very strange if you ask me. There is a battle in the Citadel where synthetics attack and destroy the center of galactic government, and their natural response is for companies to order synthetics or mechanics to do the job for them. That doesn't make any sense. It's the opposite of what I would expect. People turning away from mechanical or synthetic technologies that have proven to be very unreliable once and twice. So why open yourself to that possibility that the Geth will take over your synthetics and kill everyone, just like happened to the people in that space station? That's my question. It's not like there is a shortage of people. So a grey box is actually an implant to the brain. What do you know? It reminds me of Johnny Mnemonic, where people had implants in their brain. To upgrade storage capacity, remember? And there was a virus that infected people, made them die, and the cure was stored in a dolphin because it couldn't be infected but had a very large brain that could store a large amount of megabytes, I believe it was in that time. It was even before the Matrix, so that's a very old Keijo who accessed and sold classified data. Yeah, I remember. That's the lover of Kazumi. Of the old US Constitution. What does that even mean? Look at that, that's very interesting. Why make that distinction? Old US Constitution. very interesting. The gun that killed two presidents. In which century? Well, obviously in the 22nd century. Okay, this is what I like about codexes, at least this is funny. In 2176, a Argentine patient clerk named Michael Moser Land brought a locust concealed to a photo opportunity with Enrique Aguilar, President of the United States, and Chinese People Federation Premier Jing Xiaowing. That's very funny. Lang pierced the magnetic barrier, scoring the stage. When Xiaowing heroically attacked Aguilar to remove him from the line of fire, killed both of them. That's why it says it killed two presidents. It was not in separate occasions. It was actually two presidents at one occasion. Very interesting. In 20, Freedom Fairs destroyed the statue. Look at this, protesting the induction of Canada and Mexico into the United North American States. Blew the whole thing up. Well, that would certainly make the constitution change if you create a whole new nation. Look at this. The outrage at the secessionists kindled the fires of the Second American Civil War. On November 4th, President Kailing Chong signed an executive order to rebuild the statue. What happened to the Civil War? Okay. Planet of millionaires and billionaires. Okay. This is the planet where we have to help Said, isn't it? Of course, lacks ecological laws, allow mining and manufacturing industries to flourish, pollute cheaply, which would make the orchard the obvious solution to manpower needs. And the Blue Suns enforce the whole thing. Birds are not part of the Blue Suns, that's true. And the final one, we made it. What a lovely thing. it only took an hour and a half or something like that. Self-healing system. Assuming any such would want the flesh underneath. Seals the area. What do you know? It is the only armor that repairs itself. Not. Very interesting. There you go, finally a little picture to go with the words. I think I will leave it here. The primary codex we will deal with tomorrow, which at least it talks it instead of having to read it yourself. Yeah, the Geth proved all theories wrong. But so the Geth went back to the future to solve the problem of bringing down kinetic barriers. Well, that is a very good explanation of that change in the gameplay. That is how all the rest of the Codex should have been. Holy fuck. Okay. So, thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.